Stanford University.
And Kathryn's going to talk about habits of thought in the Enlightenment.
So, Martin, I decided in the wake of Jeffrey's talk that a more appropriate title for my talk today would be Transferring the Nouns, the intellectual history of the PhD student's entry point into the tech industry. Okay, so the iPad is a curious thing. When it was first released in 2010, most people who decided to buy it didn't buy it because it would satisfy a particular need, but rather because it was a fun toy they could play with. But the iPad is really no longer a toy. Most of us have assimilated it into our daily routines. We use it to check email, read articles, anything you like. Sales of the iPad have catapulted from 14.8 million in 2010 to a predicted 66 million by the end of 2012. How did this happen? What's the basic mechanism of human behavior that can transform a toy into a tool, that can transform a sporadic act into a daily routine, or for the business world, that can transform a temporary fad into an endurable and profitable fetish? Habit. Writing about social media sites, Facebook and Twitter, Silicon tech blogger Nir Eyal has recently argued that habit is the tech industry's most powerful weapon for maintaining consumer loyalty in today's digital world. But habit isn't new to tech. Philosophers from Aristotle to William James have all argued that habit is central to human behavior. My dissertation claims that habit was a crucial component of both thought and knowledge in 17th century Europe. A sort of silly phrase does a really good job explaining the model, my model for how habit functions in this period. The phrase is fake it till you make it. So the idea is that if you want to transform yourself in some way, go from a PhD student to a tech marketing specialist, you start by assuming that you are already transformed, and you imagine how somebody in this position would act. And then you imitate these actions, repeating them over and over again until habit transforms that which starts as just a sort of imaginary hypothesis, right? So Kathryn Hume, as a tech marketing specialist, into a concrete reality. Kathryn Hume being hired by Jeffrey Moore at the venture capitalist firm. Okay, so let's consider a concrete example to get our heads around this a little bit more. The French mathematician Blaise Pascal has his famous wager to convert a libertine, doubting atheist to a devout Christian. So Pascal starts his process of conversion by convincing this doubting atheist that even if he doesn't believe in God at all, it's nonetheless in his pragmatic benefit to act as if he were a believer, because the affiliated actions like piety and virtue are his ticket to heaven, so his ticket to everlasting bliss. Habit steps into the picture to transform this as-if belief into genuine belief. So remember, fake it till you make it, right? So Pascal tells his atheist, imagine that you already were a believer and act accordingly. Go to church, get on your knees and pray, take communion, go through all of the typical Christian rituals. Eventually, says Pascal, habit will step in and transform your deepest emotions to engineer genuine belief in God. For Pascal, therefore, as in Beth's presentation, conversion is not a momentary epiphany. It's a long-term process governed by habit. Okay, don't get me wrong. My point today is not that religious conversion is the same thing as customer conversion. That's ridiculous and outrageous. Those nouns are not transferable, in my opinion. My point's much more commonplace. Things change, people stay the same. It's because habit is so fundamental to how we act and who we are that we can find these surprising affiliations between 21st century iPad addicts and 17th century religious converts. My mission today is therefore to emphasize Anaïs's goal in starting BiblioTech, namely to convince or inspire today's tech community that it's in their benefit to return and remember our collective past as they help shape our productive future. Thanks very much.
For more, please visit us at stanford.edu.